does seem to be a bit of a conflict.
Well, this is changing the process. So
Right, because under the code, the city council sees all of the recommendations of the board and can reject the report, and now the city council won't.
This is changing the process, yes. But we attempted to draft it to make it so it would be easy to read the process together, and people involved would know what to do if this were ultimately enacted. So that was the attempt. Probably, if this were enacted, there would be some cleanup legislation that would help it. It could be enacted by the city council, but again, that's down the road. And the Corporation Council attempted to draft this in a way that minimized any conflict, but any change to the process could be read to be conflict. Try to minimize that.
Other questions or comments?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I'm a retired businessman, and I look at this as the Landmarks Board dealing with posterity, and the alternative to that is what's best for the citizens of Yonkers. How do we increase tax revenues? How do we create jobs? How do we do affordable housing? How do we stabilize our property taxes? So I'm conflicted, obviously, and I was here obviously last week, and I was very impressed with the and I'm from the east side of Yonkers. I don't think we have any historic things over there.
Like Yonkers Raceway. Sherwood House, yeah.
Well, anything west of what's that? The Thruway?
Okay.
Antioch Way.
Thank you.
So when I look at all of this, I say, you know, there are great things in that neighborhood, which I don't know on South West Yonkers, who a few women or a few people spoke about eloquently, and I said, you know what? If I was down there, I want you representing me, and you know what? That's pretty much residential. And again, as I say, I come from a perspective of a businessman, and I've been exposed to some things that, you know, I'll just throw out to you. We might disagree on how they were handled, but let's start with Boyce Thompson. That's a wonderful piece of property up there. I'm well aware of the deal that was almost put together about 6 or 7 years ago. The city would have gotten relief from a $6 million loan. The developer asked for no incentives from the city, but the preservationists that were involved up there just kept demanding, and ultimately this developer pretty much said, you know, I'm a businessman and I can't do anything more. And obviously, as we all drive up Executive Boulevard and drive up North Broadway, we see this beautiful disaster still there. And to me, that was a deal that should have been made. There's no question about it. My concern with Grayston, although that deal's not done, by the way, we still have the demands from the preservationists. You know, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. I look at that property there and I say, Jesus, give me a break. You know, what are we preserving there? That's my opinion. But if in fact we keep demanding from that project the same thing that they did up at Boyce Thompson, 5 years from now we'll be looking down here if that developer walks away and says, enough's enough. I'm well aware of that Martin store down on Main Street. If anybody could suggest to me that should be preserved, that Martin thing on Main, which pretty much delayed, it was the beginning of the development of Chicken Island, and there was so much commotion about that thing legally. And again, to me that was a delay tactic, because I don't think anybody would look at that building and say, you know, geez, I want to preserve that. And we had the same thing with 87 Neppahan Avenue. We're trying to develop the waterfront, and they're trying to, from everything I know about that building, and I've been in it numerous times, it's a terrible building. And again, I look at the building and I say, gee, I don't know why I want to preserve that thing. Now, I can tell you things I would like to preserve, that I think should be preserved, and things that were preserved. Phillips Manor, obviously. Phillipsburg Hall, obviously. There are places I would preserve that building next to the Gazette building, that red building. That would be a building I would think you would want to preserve. But some of the places that we're now asking to preserve, as it relates to development in the city of Yonkers, you know, I think, and I got to give you credit, you guys. You're a well-organized activist group. I know you go to all of the meetings. I wish we had some of the silent majority that sits around who wants to get there and do the same thing you guys do, but they don't come out. But I don't think the group that came to that meeting last week, there were 28 people that spoke, and 28 people were against us putting this on the ballot as an amendment. And my philosophy is, you got to do things that are good for the majority of the citizens of Yonkers. That's 200,000 people. And I give you credit for being at all these meetings and rabble-rousing. I don't want to say that, because we have enough of that in the healthcare debate. But the bottom line is, I'm torn between some good landmarking and some landmarking, although you mean well, impacts jobs, impacts revenue, and impacts property taxes, and even at the Greystone piece, it actually impacts affordable housing. Now just think about this. They're going to daylight the sawmill. Wouldn't those affordable, if it was not 75 but 100 affordable houses overlooking the daylighting of the sawmill? But yet, the demands put on that developer, we don't know if that deal is going to go through. So, I'm only,
Excuse me.
but yeah, but obviously, I say landmarking. I said preservation.
No response.
Okay. Anyway, so that's my perspective. I know 28 people that spoke last week. Could care less about what I say, but I'm giving you a perspective of 200,000 people in the city of Yonkers, and the story. Not that I represent them, but the bottom line is they have a say too. Well, that's what I would like to know too.
No.